Still figuring out. It's like unlisted right now. And still figuring out that transition. Mostly like students.
Good morning, and thank you for showing so up for this masterclass with Harmony Korine, our honor partner of this year's Locarno Film Edition. We have an additional surprise. The conversation will be co-moderated by Gaspar Noé and Manlio Gomarasca. So please welcome the man of the hour, Harmony Korine, Gaspar Noé, Manlio Gomarasca.
What about you can puff a cigar?
I don't know if you can smoke here, but
You can?
I don't know. Maybe we
You
should
can puff. What's the rule? You can puff a cigar here? No.
Sigaro, non sigaretta.
Oh wow.
You need an ashtray. He needs an ashtray.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Ashtray or ashtray.
Un ashtray. Posa cenere magari. Okay, it's coming. Wow, this is such an historical moment. The two of you here together is amazing, man. I'm so honored to moderate this masterclass, co-moderated with my longtime friend, artist Gaspar Noé, and welcome, Harmony Korine. Applause. Talking about the two of you, 2 days ago, Harmony, you told me that you are moving the same playground. And also, we are talking about another common friend, Nicholas Winterrefn. And it's not a casualty that the three of you are involved in a project, the Travis Scott Circumassimum. So can you tell me what you mean when you say they are moving the same playground and something about this experience with Travis Scott?
Yeah, we both did this. We worked on this project with Travis that just came out. I don't know if it's been come out. I don't think it's came out here, but it's called Circus Maximus. It was, but for me, it was very like last minute. I knew Gaspar had done a video for it for the release of Utopia, his record, and then. But I got a call actually it was a couple weeks ago to see if I could shoot the sequence in Pompeii, the concert footage. And then jumped on an airplane the next day and shot Travis in Pompeii. And then the film came out in the theaters 10 days later. We were editing up until the couple of hours before. It was pretty wild. It was pretty crazy.
It was funny because I had finished my music video that is 4 minutes long and delivered it. But every day or every 2 days I was getting, can you retouch this image? Can you? And then suddenly I learned Harmony has just shot for 2 days Travis Scott in a concert in Pompeii. He said, is it true? And I called him, hey, when did you do that? Oh, I just come back. I was there 2 days ago. And when do you have to deliver it? In 4 days. And he had to do a feature length concert.
It was 50 minutes of footage in 4 minutes. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So let's start from the really beginning. What was your family connected with cinema, and how did you start your passion for movie and images? Because you are not only a common director, you are also a visual artist. So how did everything start?
Was my family connected in the movies? No. No. I grew up. Let's see. I grew up in Nashville. I was born in a commune, and moved to the countryside, and they weren't connected other than my dad made documentaries strange documentaries about southern moonshiners and people in the carnival and stuff like that, and circus people, singers, and he did that for a while, and then he sold some weed, and we got a satellite dish. We lived out in the country. You know, this is before cable. Like these big satellite dishes that where you could get like for the first time. This is in the '80s. I was probably like 12, 11, or something. And you could start to get stations with movies and things. And I wanted to play sports, but no one in my family like play. You know,
Like you
they
play
encouraged it or. So I played on the baseball team. I was really bad at it. They would never practice. So I would throw the ball in the satellite dish, and it would just catch it out the other end all day. It was pretty good. But then that's when I started watching. I started seeing. I had access to certain films, but it was nothing like the movies. Those first films that made impression were more like movies like Police Academy or Porky's.
I like Porky's.
Smokey and the Bandit, you know, Over the Edge, The Outsiders. Like those films were like what were, you know, those were the Kentucky Fried Movie. Those were like the Faces of Death. That was pretty influential. And then yeah, it was fun. That's kind of how I started watching movies.
Yes, but you say that you really start making movie from when you were kids. How did you start that? With someone give you a camera? How does it start?
Yeah, I was first time I started like kind of making them. I was skateboarding. I was into skating, and I think I got like an early VHS camera. It was like massive, you know, like you'd put the tape on the side, and I just started shooting things of like my friends, and then I would take my brother's toys and do stop animation.
Stop motion.
On VHS, and those are like the very first. But then in high school, I made I was not a particularly good student. Teachers used to hit us a lot, and then once I would sleep a lot during classes. And once I was asleep, I took a creative writing course, and the teacher screamed my name, and I thought I was going to get hit. But she said, who wrote this, this is good. And I was like, what? You know, because I'd never gotten any encouragement at all about anything. So then she said, what do you want to do when you grow up? I said, I want to make movies. And she was like, can you turn this into a movie? It was just a one-page story. I said, yeah, sure. And then somehow the school board, they got a couple $1,000, and they gave me this money to make this, film. And I got a Bolex, and my dad showed me how to use that. And then I went and cast with my friends and made this little film on the thing. And then that's also what I got a scholarship to college and because of it, and then that's kind of how it worked. But yeah, I was making things in high school.
What is that movie?
It exists. Someone showed it not too long. I mean, it still exists. It's it was called A Bundle of a Minute. It was about a violent Buddhist.
Yeah, I think the turning point was when you met Larry Clark. You was really young, 19 years old, when he asked you to write Kids. How did you meet him? It was by chance, in fact. It was not something that...
Yeah, that was just all kind of like fortuitous. It was just all coincidence. I was going to NYU. I was going to the dramatic writing program. I was living in my grandma's house because I didn't really have any money. I couldn't afford dorm rooms or anything. So I would go. I would have to go from where she lived in Queens. It would take me like an hour to get there, and so I didn't have anywhere to go between classes when everyone else would go to back to the dorm rooms and sleep. I would just hang out on the street or just I was going to movie theaters a lot. I would go alone mostly to movie theaters. That's when they had a lot of revival theaters, and during the day you could just watch movies all day long. And I would go to it was called the Avery Fisher Media Hall. I would just sit in a little box and just watch movies the whole day. And then sometimes when you wouldn't, I would go to Washington Square Park and hang out in the park with this, like all the skaters had been my friends, and so you know, you would go there, everyone smoke weed and just kind of like hang out, and then yeah, and then one day he just kind of showed up and was like taking pictures or something, and I think I used to have like my films that I'd made on VHS with my grandmother's phone number in my backpack. And sometimes if I'd see somebody, I'd say, you should watch this. I was like 18 or 19. And then he called and he said, hey, can you write this movie? I want to make a movie. And I was like, all right. I'd never written a script before. And I didn't even have any idea of how a script, you know, I didn't even know how, I didn't know how long it took a normal person to write a script. So I thought a week seems good. So I was just man. My grandma, she was a terrible cook. She used to make like this food that tastes like shoe leather, and all day she would just give me this food. It was disgusting, but it kept me going. And then I just with that movie, I don't know. It's like talking about going back to high school or something. It's so long ago, but I remember I just sat in the room and just wrote it like this, like every day. I just wrote it until the end of the week. I didn't even really know what was going to happen. There was no outline. I just wrote it and I don't even think there was like drafts. I think it was just like once I just turned it in and then went back to school.
Yes, but Kiss was a kind of shock. I mean, where did you take? It's so realistic, in a way, you know, the way you show the adolescence and the sex and the drugs. I remember when I watched it for the first time, it was at the MIFED in the market, and say, how is it possible that someone made a movie like that? Where did you take all this reality and describe?
I mean, I have no idea. I just wrote, you know, it was very real. I knew the kid. It just seemed natural. Movies that I'd really loved at that point were a lot of maybe more realistic teen movies, even like Los Olvidados. I loved like the Bowery Boys show, the Bowery Boys with Hunts Hall, and I loved like Pichot, the Hector Babenco film, where there was like a history of working with non-actors, and even at that point I remember we're talking about Cassavetes, just things that felt obviously more like from the insider, not really like a Hollywood film, something that was more like a kind of, you know, youth verite. Mm-hmm. So I think the whole time we just were like, these were the people that were around, and they were the story.
And did you work on the shooting?
On the shooting, yeah, I was there pretty much the whole time. Yeah, it was good for me because I got to watch, because I'd never seen a film being made before. When I was like 15, I got a job as an intern on a Paul Schrader movie for the summer. That was the only time I'd really been on a set. It was called Light Sleeper. But I was like an art PA, and the guy never talked to me. And so yeah, I was on the set for the whole time. I got to watch.
Mm-hmm. And how was it working with Larry Clark?
Yeah, it was fine. It was good.
Yes, but then at the same time, I think, or some years later, you wrote another script for Larry Clark, Ken Park. But you told me that you never watched that movie because...
well, I just wrote it, and I haven't seen it. I was still in school when I wrote it. I actually turned it in to so the teacher gave me like an F. I was like, what the fuck? This will never get made. But yeah, I haven't seen it. One day, maybe.
Okay.
I remember Kids was shown in competition in Cannes.
Yeah.
So it was like the scandalous movie of the year in Cannes. And they were playing it in the afternoon because it was too shocking to be played at night. You were there?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah. I think that was the first one.
That's a good start.
A really good start.
You go to Cannes in competition.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was trippy.
And that occasion, you also discover a really interesting actress that is Chloe Sevigny, because in the beginning, Larry Clark chose another actresses for the role.
That's true. That's true. Like they are, again. This is so long ago, but I remember they had tried to work with like a more established actress, but putting her next to all the real kids, or it didn't really work, and so Chloe was really at the core of that scene, and it was really.
Yeah, but Chloe was someone of your friend, because then after she worked with you in Gummo, and then she also take care of the costume in Gummo. Can you tell something about her?
Yeah, she was my girlfriend at the time, and then she was great. She just is like, she was this very kind of magical, None of it in the very beginning really had aspirations to be, I guess I did because I always wanted to make films, but mostly like everyone was just kind of like, but she was very like, she had a lot of talent and will and creativity. I think like, so we worked together in the very beginning with all those films.
And what happened after Kids? Because you spent 4 years between Kids and Gummo, I think.
What happened?
After Kids. I mean, what happened to you? You still going to school and everything?
No, I dropped out right away. I dropped out. I think I only went to school for like less than 1 year. I think I was, and then dropped out. And then we were already making movies at that point. I was making movies. I was 20 and was like, all right, I can make movies. I just want to make films. I had a chance, and we just kind of like off to the races.
And when did Gummo come out?
When it come out?
Gummo.
We shot in 96, so 97, I think.
Okay. And that was your first long feature.
Yes, that was my first movie, yeah.
And the title is taken from Gummo Max.
Yeah, the title is from Gummo Marx. And he was like the fifth Marx brother that was more anonymous. They call it because he used to wear gum-soled shoes. And I just always liked the idea of like an anonymous, like the anonymous Marx brother.
Exactly.
So it didn't really have anything to do with the film. I just liked the name.
And again, you come to talk again about teenager. In this case, in Xenia, Ohio, after the storm. And I have the sensation that the destruction outside is a kind of reflection of the suffer of these young boys that have no future, in fact. Is it true?
That what happened?
I mean, that after the storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, it was, the storm was kind of a set of there had been a very famous tornado in Ohio, in Xenia, Ohio, where the film took place, but I just liked Xenia because it was famous for the storm, but also there was a skateboard company called Alien Workshop that was based out of Xenia, Ohio, that had made a video that I'd really loved, and like I just thought it was an interesting place to set the film. But we ended up shooting it in Nashville. The storm was kind of like a narrative, it was symbolic maybe of like the chaos of the sequences and the characters and the order and the kind of deconstructed narrative. Because I was like, once you established that there was this tornado destroyed this town, then I could just have scenes that were like falling from the sky. Yeah.
And why you decide to talk again about teenager?
I mean, I was only 22. I didn't really know anything else. I couldn't really talk about being a grown-up because I had only just made it out of my own like adolescence. Yeah, it was like an obvious thing. I just left it.
You were still living in New York at the time?
I was living in New York, and then we went back to Nashville, and then I shot in all the places that like I'd grown up in, and just like my friends lived. A lot of them were my friends. Some of them still are my friends. Some of them are in jail.
At the time you said that you prefer work with not professional actor because you want to search a kind of realist that only the not professional actor can give you. Is it true?
Probably at that time I was more interested. I really didn't have much of a relationship with like Hollywood or, you know, I wasn't like thinking in terms of working with big. I was like searching for something else. I was trying to do other things. So at that point, yeah, like working with real people, non-professional actors, was more in line with kind of like what I was trying to achieve.
And you like to use a lot of improvisation set. I remember about the chair wrestling sequences. That was something that you shoot the last day, I think.
Yeah, when they fight the chair. Yeah, that was one of the last days. That one was not scripted. A lot of that film was like, I used to say it was like a chemicals, you know, like I would, you know, you'd have certain people, actors, non-actors, in a room together. I would give them each a different direction. I tell them each like something completely oppositional or something, and then you tell the cameraman one thing, and then I just go, and then you would almost see it's like chemicals. You document the explosion. You do this sometimes. It's and kind of see where it almost like what the reaction is. And so that one was gradually building. They were getting more and more drunk, more and more animated. They started talking to the chair, acting like the chair was real. And then one of the people in it, my friend Mark Gonzalez, who's a skateboarder, he started fighting the chair. And then actually the chair won a few times. And then it really progressed into this thing where they like beat the chair, they cooked it, and it became amazing. But what I would do is, we had this French cinematographer named Jean-Yves Escoffier, and we just ended up putting, because I knew no crew could be around, so we just ended up putting a mic on the camera, and then he was holding it, and then I just was 4 minutes.
They do that for documentaries in general.
Yeah. And it was like 4 minutes, you have 4 minutes, and then I would lock all the doors so the producers couldn't stop it. And I would just say, go! And then I wouldn't even know, I could just hear things breaking and smashing. And then at the end, I would look at his face, and he had this huge smile. It was like covered in sweat and blood. And I was like, oh, that looks good.
How long are your feature film scripts?
Are they scripts?
No, when you write a script, how long, how many pages are they?
I mean, now I almost don't write scripts. In the beginning, I started as a writer. They were very written, but now I almost don't really work with conventional scripts. I pretty much lost interest in the. I work they're almost more like storyboards, pictures. But sometimes, like this one I just made that's gonna come out soon, was probably just only no scripts. Just I'd like to get to a point where I could just freestyle movies, like the way you just rap. I could just rap a movie.
And for example, in Gummo, you had no dialogues written.
There was some dialogue written in the script. What I did with Gummo was it was written almost like if I remember what it was, I would write on cue cards, on note cards, just serious sequences like I want a boy with rabbit ears plays the accordion on the toilet in a Burger King. Yeah, I don't know. I just put it there. The next one I would say, two kids on the side of the road shoot a cat. On the next one I would say, and it just assemble these sequences that were like photographs that didn't exist. They were just kind of out of my imagination. And then at some point I would start to rearrange them. Then I wrote a dialogue. Then when you're there, I mostly throw it away. And so then you kind of use it. I would use it, but then kind of like push it into something else. Yeah, it's like a cross between improvising and manipulation.
Is the pressure mat the same for you? You told me that you prefer shooting without a script. Why?
No, but in my case, I write synopses that are very clear. and then I just improvise the dialogues on the set.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I have a film structure probably that is like more classical than his.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that at the time Gummo make a lot of a huge scandal because of the violence against animal.
Every
a lot of
film,
people
a
wrote,
huge scandal.
yeah, that's true. It's a story, man.
Every movie, it's a huge scandal.
About the violence.
Every film, we're so scandalous. It's unbelievable. This whole thing is gonna start to burn soon.
Yes, in that case, the scandal was about the violence against animal. A lot of people wrote that you kill cat for true.
I just never liked cats.
Makes sense. And why you decide to make the second movie, Julian Donkey Boy, based on the Dogme collective movement?
Well, at the time, it was like it was fun. It was like Lars had made The Idiots and Thomas had made Celebration. It was this kind of, it was almost like a joke, except that they did take it seriously. There hadn't been one made in America. I had talked to Thomas about it and Lars, and it was kind of like the vow of chastity. It was kind of, at the time, it was very similar to, approaches that I had been taking. But then also it was like I liked it. It was like a kind of, there was like this like militant religious adherence to the vow of chastity, and it was just fun. It was like an experiment. It was just something to try. It was like a one-off kind of anomaly. I think Dogma existed. It was relatively quick, but yeah.
How did you shoot Julie Donkey Boy? You shoot in mini DV, then you transfer in 60 millimeter. You make a long process too.
Yeah, it was, and even in that way, I probably broke some of the rules. just in that, it probably shouldn't have been. It was aestheticized at the time, as much as it was. We shot on teeny cameras. I was using even spy cameras that were in glasses and on people's clothes. And Anthony Dodmantle, a cinematographer, he'd also shot Celebration, and we just kind of like came up with it was almost all just teeny DV cameras at the time, but everything at that point was, I think, shot on tape, so it was also it was analog, and it was just experimenting with putting cameras that was part of the thing. The cameras had to be moving.
Because you are fascinated of analogic way of shooting. Let's talk about Trash Hamper. Why did you decide to shoot Trash Hamper in VHS?
Trash Humpers was meant to be almost more like a film you would find like a VHS tape in a ditch somewhere, like buried in the guts of a dead horse. Originally, I remember we were gonna just the way we were gonna distribute is just send it to police stations. And so that film was very much like if we were gonna just find a movie, some deranged film. I used to, when I was growing up as a kid, there was this. I lived by an old person's home, and it was a lot of old perverts. They would just walk around. I'd see them staring into people's windows, and wearing turtleneck sweaters, and just they were decrepit. And so I was just like, oh, I wonder, what if they had been filming themselves just doing vandalism? It was like a celebration of vandalism, just destroying stuff.
I like that.
Also, the editor we had worked with was blind. I remember 95. His name is Leo. He's 95% blind. He could see out the crack of his right eye, so he would be always like that at the thing. That's why it kind of feels like that.
And the movie was almost fully improvised.
There was no. I mean, there was. What happened was everyone would be in the vans, and then they would in a van. The whole thing had lasted 2 weeks. Mostly come out at night, and then we would just drive around the alleyways and stuff, and then when we would see good things like that they wanted to destroy, they would jump out and destroy them, and then get back in and then go, or just keep walking from. It was amazing because never the police came, or never there's no like. It was really great. It was just everyone just walking around destroying shit.
America's a free country.
It really was back then. It was much more accessible. But no script. And then at the end, after a time, there was like they had pretty much done everything. It just ended. There was we got in a truck and there was nowhere to go.
So it was self-financed?
Yes. Yeah. I think, or yeah.
The good thing about movies that you finance yourself, if you don't like them, you can put them in a garbage can.
Yeah. That's true, actually. That's true.
But you like to manipulate the images. That was from Gummo on. You always have different formats, different. You use a Polaroid, you use stop motion, you use a lot of things because you want to find a new visual languages. You don't want to shoot in traditional.
I like working in all different formats, and even now, what I'm doing now is even the most extension of that. But it's like instruments. They all mean something different. So Super 8 means something different than 35 or Polaroid or video. Everything kind of has a different tone, a different grain structures, a different psychology to things. And then sometimes it's good thinking about the formats and how you want to shoot because it affects the story or the energy of what you're making. So sometimes it's like the lowest technology, the most degraded imagery is the most interesting, and sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes you want to use the most craziest high tech. So it's really about the story. I don't really have like an allegiance to like a format.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that a huge part of your creative process is also inside of the editing room.
What happened?
A part of your creative process is inside of the editing room. I mean.
Oh yeah. Well, like Gaspar, it's made in the editing room.
You like new toys?
Yeah, I love it. I like. It's always good anytime there's some new technology or something to.
Now he's working a lot with Benoit Deby. We share the same DOP.
Uh-huh.
And Benoit Deby is obsessed with the new material. So they said, "Oh, there is this new projector. Can we try it on your set?" And then.
Yeah, it's true. It's we have the same DP. Actually, like Gaspar, in a lot of ways, is like one of the reasons that like Spring Breakers.
Mm-hmm.
Like looks and feels like it does because he was like, you gotta work with Benoit. I was like, are you sure? And then that's kind of how the relationship. I was like, all right.
You say that after Julian Duncan Boy, you have a huge burnout. What happened?
Oh, burnout. I was fucked up, man. I was just wrecked. I was completely wrecked by that point. I was completely debased and out of my mind, and I just was like, I guess you call it burnout or just.
I remember he was living in Paris at the time.
Yeah, we don't get into that. Yeah. All right, we'll skip over that. No, I was just wrecked, mentally exhausted, just chemically unbalanced, and I never had like I was just like, since I was a kid, because I just went right into it. So at that point, it like took its toll. So I had to like just go away for a while.
Yeah, I understood. And at that, you say that during that period was the first time that we are not interested to make movie. What's the first time in your life that you are not interested to write?
Oh, I was just fucked up as a person, so I just didn't even, the idea of making movies.
And then Mr. Lonely come out.
Yeah, that was like 6 or 7 years later.
Oh, so much.
I think so, yeah. I don't make a lot of, I really don't make a lot of movies. I think I would, making art in between those, I was painting a lot, and I was more focused on art, and then yeah, then Mr. Lonely came. I had moved back to Nashville at that point, and I wrote that script. And
You wrote with your brother.
my little brother, yeah, he helped me write that script. Yeah.
What was why you were so fascinated in Sosia, in people that was living other people's life? Talking about Mr. Lonely.
Oh, well, I just thought like Michael Jackson impersonator was hilarious. I'd seen like a Mexican Michael Jackson impersonator. It was so interesting. He was like, speaking Spanish and doing the moonwalk. And then I think I just thought what would be an interesting setup, the idea of just a whole commune that just existed for impersonators. People that just, this is very for the moment, people that really could pick and choose their own identity in a way. And so I was like, what if Michael Jackson and Marilyn Monroe and Charlie Chaplin all kind of lived together in some weird, like, like place on the water in a castle in the middle of nowhere, like killing sheep. And then yeah, it's a strange movie, but I just, it was more, a lot of that movie kind of came from dreaming and dreams, or nuns flying out of airplanes.
Yes, tell me about that. How did it come out, the idea of the nuns flight from the airplane?
It's interesting because last night when they showed the screen with the thing before the award, the last clip was the clip of the nun in the sky on the bicycle flying, and like to this day, probably if I just say like what's for me like the one image that encapsulates the whole everything, it's that's probably the image I get the most, like when we were shooting that sequence on, I don't know, it's a pretty, you know that story?
I thought you would die at the end.
What? The guy
No,
almost...
no, it's very scary, that image is.
So when we were shooting the scene, there's really no there's like no VFX in that sequence really, but we had asked for I wanted to have a nun on a BMX bicycle, like ride at the side of an airplane, like 10,000 feet or whatever, and do tricks in the sky, and on a bicycle, and then land, and then ride the bike. So obviously that's something that had never probably been done before. And I remember they had difficulty finding anyone crazy enough to do it. And the other thing was like almost no country, almost no place would like let us do it. And then they found a guy who was like a stunt man. He had done like a lot of stuff on like 007 movies, a lot of all the parachuting. And we were filming those sequences on little cameras that were on the helmets, and they had to like factor in like what would happen when the bicycle's in the air and how it would spin and the weight. It was much more technical than just riding a bike out into the sky. And so they were actually they were all men in nuns' clothes. Stuntmen. But this guy who was like the head stuntman, an older guy, he said, he's like, before we do this, we should do a test. Before I let so-and-so do this, we should do a test, and I'm going to test it. And then he was like, but just so you know, he's like, we should film this because it's maybe the only time we'll ever get it, or something like that. So I said, okay. We were in Spain, I think. And there were like 4 or 5 other nuns that were basically the cameramen that were flying with him. So he goes and I can't even see them. They're so high. It's nothing. I'm just standing there like alone at the bottom of the thing to try, I think holding a monitor or something. There was no image. And they're like, okay, they're filming, and then minutes go by. I don't see anything. And then finally I start to see these little dots, these nun outfits just like flying in. But I don't see the bike at all. The bike's not there. So one of the guys comes down, he swoops down, he's like, choo, 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 choo. And I said, what's going on? How's it? And he goes, it's not good. I was like, what the fuck? What do you mean? How, you know, if it's not good, that's bad. I was like, that's bad, right? There's not really that much room for... And then another one came down, another one, and it looked like a funeral. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even see the guy. And then finally I see, and the bike's going like this, just like this. It's in like a flat spin. And I'm like, holy, you know, and flat spin, and then I see the chute come up, and then the bike goes and eats up the chute. Like it goes like the chute comes up, and the bike goes like that, and then the chute just goes into like the wheel or something. And it was like obviously horrifying, but it was so quick. And then I see the bike goes a couple hundred feet, and he's just coming straight down like this, and then literally a couple hundred feet, the safety chute comes up like that, and he's still going relatively fast, and I see the guy take a knife and he cuts the bike like this. He cuts the thing, yeah, and the bike goes ching. He lands really hard.
Wow.
And then takes immediately, like they said, don't go to, takes his nun outfit off. It was completely shredded, and he goes to some water and he just starts trying to clean the nun outfit. And they said he's in shock. And I was like, whoa, so am I. I was like, what happened? And what happened was during that, so when you see that sequence, the guy had passed out because the bike had gone into a flat spin. So when he's going like this, that's why when I watch it, it's kind of emotional because he's gone. He's like completely catatonic. He fainted. He was going like this. And so the guy's basically like dead in the air. And the chute came out, and then obviously the chute didn't work, and then and then at some miracle he came to, and the emergency chute that was put on the bike, there was a second, was the one that caught and saved his life. And then he was in shock when he was like sitting there like washing his clothes. It was really, so when I see that, it's really like we had to go back. I had these effects people that just had to go back, and they had to go frame by frame and paint out the chute that was stuck in the side of the. So when you see him like that, he was really just he was unconscious. It was crazy, but that's probably the most beautiful thing I've ever shot.
After your first movie, a lot of important directors say amazing things about you. Gus Van Sant, Bernardo Bertolucci, and Werner Herzog, of course. And you work with him. You use him like an actor for 2 movies, of course. How was working with Werner Herzog like actor?
He's great. He was great. Werner was like I loved his movies when I was a kid, and I saw even Dwarf Started Small. I was like, how the fuck? I couldn't believe that movie existed. Something like that existed. Even the films he made with Bruno S. And Aguirre, and like a lot of those films, I was just like, whoa. And someone showed him an early screening of Gummo, and then I got a call from him. It's like, you're the last foot soldier in the army. It is your duty. I mean, this is like, I was a kid. I was probably like 23 or something. And then I flew out to San Francisco. At that point, he was like living in this little apartment. There was no, I walked in the apartment. The only thing he had in his apartment was a photograph of himself, I guess, when he was like 2 or 3 years old, wearing a trash bag. That was it. And yeah, he was just, you know, I love him as a person, as an actor, as a one of the most charismatic people. It was a great you know, he's like a kind of once in a generational talent. There really is no one like him. So yeah, we put him in movies and worked with him, and he's still a friend, good friend.
If I'm not wrong, you played in a movie with him, no?
Which one?
No, the one you were not proposed to play. In a movie with
Julian, I did. I actually fired myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was because you know I idolized like Clint Eastwood, and so I'd always wanted to do what Clint Eastwood does, and so at that point I was like I should try putting myself in the film, directing myself, and I was horrible, and it was just I wasn't able to disconnect. I didn't have the ability to like go in front, and so I fired myself. But I was in that film for like a week with Burnout. That's true. I forgot about that. That's good. You remember that.
So let's talk about Spring Breakers. You know, we saw the beginning yesterday.
Well, let me think. Have you tried that?
What?
Like to act in but like more than just like a minute.
I played my own movie Love, but because I didn't want to see my face on screen, I put a wig on. And it looked nice.
It's not easy, right?
Yeah, but the good thing is if you're directing a movie in which you play, if you're bad, you can cut.
Oh yeah,
yourself
that's
off,
the best part. You can
know
take
that,
it. You
yeah,
can
you're
take
not
your.
gonna keep
Yeah,
it.
you're never nervous about that.
But Gaspar, someone else also asking you to play in a movie, and it's our friend Larry Clark. You should play a part in The Smell of Us. Why you didn't?
It was better not to do it.
Okay, let's talk about Spring Breakers. I mean, the beginning of the movie is so sexy, and the movie starts like, you know, not a teen comedy, maybe a kinky teen comedy, and then become really an ode to pop culture. Tell me something about Spring Breaker. I think the movie is so powerful, it's so important.
Thank you. I had like in America, spring break is like a real rite of passage. You know, spring break, and then even growing up in Nashville, everyone would do. You would go to Daytona. At that time, it was Daytona in Florida, or Pensacola. They called it like the Redneck Riviera. You would right on the Panhandle. Everyone would just jump in a car, and you're like 16 or 17, and you would just go to spring break, and that was like a big thing. It was like and then I liked the name because I was like spring break, and then spring. I like the idea of spring breaking, you know, like spring breaks. Yeah. And then I just started imagining. I'd always been obsessed with Florida. I'd always loved Florida, and then I was like, I want a movie in Florida. And then I started thinking about like girls in bikinis, like robbing tourists. I really don't know where it came from, but then I was just the image of girls in balaclavas and guns, robbing like fat people on the beach. It was a and then from there I just was like, okay, and I actually went to write it in Florida. I bought a ticket, just took my computer and jumped on an airplane and went to Daytona, and then it was spring break, and I got there was no spring breakers. It was for lesbian bikers, so these like tough women, leather jackets. But I was like a different vibe. So then someone said, "Oh, it hasn't happened in Daytona in years." I went to Pensacola, and that's where it was really. I went to Panama City, and I was right in the middle of spring break, and I wrote it like in a hotel room, and you know, kids were like, everyone was puking in the hallways, and it was good. I was like inspired, and then just wrote the script, and then. When I was like, who should play this? Who should play these roles? It was such the obvious choice were like those girls, because they were so much part of like the zeitgeist, the culture, the kind of pop vernacular of it, you know. And so that's kind of how it happened.
The movie is amazing.
Yeah, they were Disney idols before.
Yeah. they're still Disney idols. Yeah, they had all come from Disney.
I think it's time maybe to leave the audience to make some question because we are running out of time. So
And you were not living in Miami when you shot that movie?
No, I moved to Miami like a year later or something, year or two later. I was living in Nashville at the time. Yeah.
ci sono domande dal pubblico? Qualcuno che vuole alzare la mano? No one? Ah, there.
Hello. I wanted to ask for Spring Breakers because I know from footage of Spring Breakers there's a lot of nudity on the beaches and stuff, and you can see a lot of boobs in the movies. And I wanted to ask why there's no dicks, because I know there's a lot of nudity also for the boys.
You like dicks?
Yeah, I'm asking for
You
a
should
friend.
make your own movie with dicks.
Asking for a friend. No, I wanted just to know if it was a production thing or if it was your choice.
What, dicks?
Yeah, not showing
Bro,
dicks.
you should make your own movie with your own dick.
Any other question? Yeah. Oh, first the man, and then after you. This one first.
Hi, real pleasure to see both of you. I had a question. Harmony, Gummo and kids are inspired by like events of your life and whatnot, and your friend Werner Herzog talks about how for young filmmakers, if they want to really kind of be inspired, they should work as a bouncer in a sex club, as a slaughterhouse operator, as a as that kind of a job. As a young filmmaker myself, what advice would you give when entering like a new environment?
What advice would I give for what?
When entering a new environment that is kind of
What kind of environment?
A new one, like such as one that you don't know.
What advice to give to when you go into a new environment, like applying for a job?
No. Like when trying to make a film about a new environment, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Just try your best.
Yeah. Like, would you like look for anything in particular when like going in somewhere new that you don't know?
What would you say? I don't go anywhere I don't know.
You know your own obsessions, so you go for them.
Thank you.
I agree with that.
Ragazzi. C'è prima lei, poi dopo lui.
Hello? Yeah, okay. What is one valuable lesson you've learned from a mistake let me restart. What is one valuable lesson you've learned from a mistake made during your filmmaking journey you feel like you have to share so we don't repeat them?
Never work with an alcoholic cinematographer.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think I've learned
Just
something.
trust me on that.
Yeah, thank you.
What was your relationship with producers in general?
With producers, it's different. Some producers I have great relationships, other terrible. In the beginning, I saw them as adversarial. Mostly never saw them as part of this, in the very beginning, as part of the same team. I always thought of them as an adversary, even though we were, in the end, trying to get to the same place. I thought that the director's natural, the job required you to defy the producers in a lot of ways. In the beginning, then after a while, my relationships evolved into something easier. But in the very beginning, yeah. What about you?
That's another story.
Hello. You said also that you are an artist and a painter and a poet, and I wanted to ask if you can tell us a little bit more about this part of your life and how it is interconnected with directing.
Yeah, I honestly like never really differentiated. I probably spend more time painting than like working on films and stuff. And now I'm like, I'm painting a lot, working on video games, and but the art has always been. I always just saw it all as the same thing. So writing, directing, painting. Whatever it was, it all kind of came from the same place. Advertising, photography, the films that really took over in the beginning. But for me, they were all just the same. They came from the same place. It was a kind of unified aesthetic. They were just, I was just reacting in different forms, different medium. But I probably get more happiness out of just being alone, like painting, than almost anything.
Altre domande?
Yes. Is there still like an idea or a scene you need to bring on the screen? And my second question would be, what is Meryl Streep carrying in her bag?
She was carrying gold bars and guns.
I thought so.
Hi. I'm here. In Trash
Whoa, bro,
Humpers-
you got a mullet?
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Thanks.
Damn, you rocking a mullet in Switzerland?
I offered you a rose yesterday.
Oh, right. Got it.
In Trash Humpers, there's a scene where the small fat kid, you made him like smash a baby doll and see three weird guys with masks. I was wondering, wasn't he traumatized? And what?
No,
does he
that
become?
kid was actually 45 years old. He had a rare disorder, so he was actually already disturbed.
Hi, Harmony. What's your opinion about new formats like TikTok, Snapchat? Because I think one of your latest work, Duck Duck, you use the Snapchat lenses, something like that. And these, I want to know your opinion about these intersections with the cinema, new medias, and stuff like that.
No, I love them. I think that's the most interesting. I think it's probably the most interesting thing. I love them. I like embrace them. I think it's part of the language is developing into something that's closer to that. Yeah, gaming and TikTok and it's just a lot of it's a kind of progression, I think, and it's a different kind of form of creation, a way to communicate. I sometimes will see, I'll watch a movie that someone's like, oh, you have to see this thing. What the fuck? That was, I don't understand what's so, and then I'll see like a 30-second clip or 20-second clip on TikTok or Reels or something, and it's like I can't believe how it exists. It's so good. Or I'll play a game and it's like I'll spend weeks playing a game and it's so immersive and exciting. For me, it's a very good time to create and work with that stuff and new tech around it.
Nessun'altra domanda?
Do you have a TikTok account?
I don't have it. I got one for like 3 or 4 days during COVID, and it was so exciting. That's all I thought about. I was refreshing it every 5 seconds, and I was like, "Fuck this!" I was gonna get completely addicted. So I got off it. But I see my daughter's teenage. I see that they're on it all the time.
Of course.
Hi. How do you feel that Gummo, a movie that you made so early on in your career,
for so many people that maybe don't know you so well, it will be representative of yourself also today. You know, you associate your name with this movie that it's a high school movie.
Yeah, it's great. It's nice. It's nice. It always feels good. Ask him. It's always nice when the films, when they first come out. A lot of times, the movies he's made also they become demonized by a lot of people as well. It's not like they come out and then it's just like love. A lot of times the films are also equally hated, and so there's something nice about time sometimes and how things enter the culture, and like, you know, it's nice when people talking about it, because it's not something I never really think about it unless I'm here, you know, around people, you know. So it's nice to know because you Gaspar, myself, other directors, you put so much of your life into making the movies. And so you want them to have some type of a life that goes on beyond just the moment. So all the films, everything, anything, anytime it affects anyone in a positive way is I think, great.
Altre domande?
I
Okay.
remember when you released Gummo in Japan, when I was going quite often to Japan, and it was a big hit, and everybody knew him. He was a star in Japan, just with one feature and like on the screenplay of Kids. So.
Yeah, that's true. But it was like that for I Stand Alone. You were same thing happened with you. He's one of the best, this guy. Gaspar is a treasure.
Yes, you are two really artists, and I love your movie a lot. As I told you, I watched in Toronto twice when it was released the first time, Spring Breaker, and when I watched Climax in Canada market, I stay also for the second screening because it's that kind of movie that when you watch, you are immediately in, and something that's remind your mind.
I agree. Climax, unbelievable. Unbelievable movie.
What I heard there was a project without you or with you to do a Spring Breakers #2. What about that?
I heard that too. I heard that every couple of years I hear that bubbling up. I hope it never happens. I hope that it never happens. Let's put it that way. I think it's one and done. They kill Alien at the end, so it's over.
It's over. I know that you can't talk too much about it, but you have a new movie that will be shown in Venice. Can you give us some details?
I can't say too much, but I'm excited. I have a new film that premieres in like 3 weeks in Venice. It's called Agro Drift, and I think it's it's like I don't think there's ever been anything like it. I've never made anything like it. I don't know if anything like it's existed in. It's almost, I was trying not to make a movie, so maybe it's even not even a movie. But I'm very
I've seen it.
It's
extremely trippy.
Yeah.
Incredibly trippy.
Yeah. It's I can't say anything, but very soon. I'm excited.
Okay, so for sure again is going to be the huge scandal of the festival.
I don't know if it's scandal, but it's definitely going to be its own thing. Yeah.
So thank you, Harmony Korine. Thank you, Gaspar, for being with us.
Yeah.
And thank you, all of you, for your question.
Party.